When ordinary people think of autumn, they imagine shorter days, cozy fires, curling up with a great piece of literature, and basking in the warming scent of cinnamon with shades of burnt orange, which your other half has decided to spend the life savings on to decorate the home for only 2 months, just as God intended. Yet we must remember that this transition into the frosty abyss of winter creates the perfect conditions for the spread of the pathogen known as Halloween. This disease causes people to dress like demons and go door to door asking for free stuff. This public service announcement aims to give you the correct tool to help you deal with these contagious commie behaviors when they manifest in your local community. First, you'll want to arm yourself with multiple shots of the best-selling paperback on Amazon called The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. With this PPE, you're fully equipped and well protected to handle what's to come next. Second, have a pumpkin spice latte and white girl autumn your time away in knitted cream shackets and pilgrim hats, because soon enough, Samhain begins. This is when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical world is at its thinnest, and possession, the main symptom of Halloween, is more commonly presented, causing this type of unironic cringe to start happening. Just look at him. This poor soul thinks he looks cool. And if you're not careful, this could be you. Together we can stop the spread of Halloween and flatten the curve. When you see fully grown adults playing dress-up and mirroring unspeakable horrors from beyond the void, remember your training and cure their vapid sense of self-identity by handing them one of our favourably reviewed treatments. Your country must develop herd immunity to seasonal cringe. So, spread the cure far and wide. Just like the cure, this disease does not discriminate by age. Emulating the infected, you will see children running around in bedsheets, knocking on doors, begging for sugary treats, and threatening to damage your well-earned property. Make sure to fill their novelty buckets with the one thing all children secretly want: a well-rounded and relatable education in biblical history. That'll stop the spread. The Nephilim Look Like Clowns and the inevitable booster volumes are currently the only known cure to thinly veiled demon channeling holidays. This is your best defense against this pandemic of spooky proportions. All you have to do is trust the science. Which you know we did, because I'm showing you people wearing lab coats and looking serious. Get your copy on Amazon today, and be prepared for tomorrow. Side effects of reading The Nephilim Look Like Clowns include, but are not limited to, a feeling of existential crisis, a well-rounded knowledge of a Christian contrarian view on human history, a foundational understanding of spiritual warfare, and a healthy aversion to clowns.
Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Come on in, sit on down. I'm doing an early morning, mid-afternoon show for all you guys today. Something for my British listeners out there. Something a bit more reasonable, a bit more, relaxed. I'm more awake than usual. I've got my second cup of coffee right here next to me. And I thought, you know what, let's do it live. Let's do it live. Because Monday, Tuesday mornings for me are work mornings. It's when my loving wife takes care of the toddler for the morning for a few hours so I can just sit in the office and focus on catching up on emails, replying to people's comments, making a video or two, doing a bit of writing, dealing with admin, mailing things out, all the work stuff that you've got to do when you're self-employed. And I was sat here, reading some emails, and I thought, rather than writing out long responses, and why not just say it out loud? I do better speaking than I do typing. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to do it live. And I have a couple of interesting emails people sent me today. And I thought, I'll just brush over them quickly. So we're going to talk about Loab, the AI cryptid. I'm going to humour a few possible end time scenarios from the perspective of the Little Season, as though it's the Millennial Kingdom has already come and gone. So how would an end time scenario in the Little Season look, including things like, the War of Gog and Magog? But how could that manifest? In what ways? And someone sent me an interesting email thinking about those concepts, and we're going to go through that a little bit 2. But first, let's just check the chat. Let's see who's here. I'm going to put the webcam on. It's a little bit delayed, I think. I don't think the webcam's working very well, unfortunately. So, deal with the delay. I can't stop it for some reason. It's doing it beyond my control. But I can see you all, and let's see who's in the chat here. So we've got Bruce, thanks for being here. We got Doug, we got Elohim's Medicine, we've got Jesus Loab, we got Donuts, we got CFR Nobles here, we got Woodgie, we've got Mindhack, we got Art, we got Nicholas, Patricia, MK Ryan's in the chat, everybody. Wow, this is early for you, isn't it? So for you Americans out there, I assume you may be, on the way to work, perhaps driving, or if you work from home, you've just woken up, or maybe you drop the kids off at school. It's going to be early for you guys, so I don't imagine a huge audience this morning while I'm doing this because of that reason. But again, I noticed that I got a few of my British followers who are here today, nobles from down south in England, and I believe he's managed to join me today. Down south, Birmingham, is it Birmingham? Is that down? Well, to me, it's down south anyway. I'm in the north, but yeah. We got Pearl here. We got Between the Air. We going to work, he says. Absolutely. Fell out of bed, says Hearty Hard. We've got Trey Matthews. And yeah, a decent crowd. Not bad for this time in the afternoon and in the morning. So how are we all doing? How do you guys like the new advertisement I created? I quickly whipped that together yesterday. And it's been in my mind for a long time to try and mold into something. And I wrote the script like a week ago, and I just need to find a good morning. Like Monday morning was the time I had the chance to do it. I just said the script in as many voices as I could, and I decided to stick with the vaudeville style JFK impression, which is what a lot of people have commented. And you guys in America might hear JFK, but to me that just sounds like every American that's ever existed ever in old-timey mode. So every old-timey radio host to me has always sounded like that. It's a stereotype. I went with the stereotype. And as a British person, I think I did a good enough job. But yes, it does sound like Kennedy, doesn't it? And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Okay, as long as it works. Unfortunately, I think I made it too long. By chance, someone pointed out to me it's 322. Sorry, it's 3 minutes 22 seconds. I did not intend to have the 322 symbol embedded into that. When I uploaded it, my version says 3 minutes 21. But for some reason on YouTube, it's transliterated into 3 minutes 22. So I did not plan for that. But unfortunately, I think that's 22 or 21 seconds over my limit to use it as a trailer on my videos. I'm learning. I didn't realize that. Turns out it might have to be under 3 minutes for it to be able to be used as a trailer for videos that are up and coming to be released, if you get what I mean. So I'm a bit upset about that, but it means I can use it at least at the start of these shows and the live shows. It's a bit of fun, a bit of a break mid-show. I can just play it on my thing here. So just let me know, first of all, guys, before I continue, how bad is the lag to me speaking? Because I see a lag here, but do you guys have a lag in any way, shape, or form? Or are the words matching up with my lips? Just let me know how it looks to you guys in the chat now, just so I can see. But for me, it looks like there's like maybe a second delay or something like that. But please let me know if you guys can see a lag or not before I begin. Because if it's really bad, I'll just switch to an image or a slideshow or something, or just share the screen, and we'll just do it audio only. So let me know, guys, in the chat. On vacation, Paul, so very early here. Great advert, says CFR. Thank you, I appreciate that. You're on vacation, so you're somewhere else, are you? Yeah, there's a lag, says MK Ryan, just half a sec. It's annoying, isn't it? I don't know why it's doing that. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever. Everything seems to be fine. I've got full whack internet. I'm not losing any frames. It just seems to be a glitch in the matrix. What can we say? So yeah, never mind then. I will switch to... Let's do a slideshow. Let's do a nice slideshow of clowns. Let's do clowns this time for a bit of fun, shall we? I'll just let this roll while I'm speaking. Not bad though. A bit of a delay. Yeah. It's not really worth it, is it? There's someone out there's going to complain about something, so let's leave it off. Slight lag here, says Bruce. I don't know what happened. This is just the curse of the afternoon stream or the early morning stream, it seems. Yeah, so someone says Loab. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to quickly share the screen. Well, I'm not going to share the screen while I'm reading emails, actually, because that's not fair to the people who sent me the emails. But someone sent me an email, basically just, we'll call them Mr. F. Okay, so Mr. F sent me an email, and it says, "Hi, Paul. I've been following you for a number of years, never commenting. Just wanted to reach out and say how much of a blessing your ministry/content is. It has only served to strengthen my faith and walk with the Lord." Well, first of all, great. I'm happy I've played some small role in your faith and keeping it strong. That's wonderful. He says, "I came across this. Quote, Loab is showing us the unimaginable future of artificial intelligence from ABC News. End quote. And instantly thought of all your research. It really begs the question of the nefarious nature of artificial intelligence and it being a possible portal to demons. Very coincidentally, curious, so that many of the images resemble clown gore. Again, thank you for all your content. God bless you, brother. Cheers from sunny Sydney," says Mr. F. And yes, see, Loab, I have heard of Loab before. It's a couple of years old now, to be honest. I think it was like summer of 2022 that became a thing. And on the screen here, you can see the website that he linked to me. And you all remember this, don't you? I know I'm late to the game. I know this is old news, so please just bear with me, okay? We're going to rehash this. I'm going to discuss this in a more modern context, in hindsight, you know, what we know more now about AI than what we knew then. But yeah, this creepy looking thing, you know, looking like Bruce Jenner over here. Like it was called Loab. And the story is, as I'm going to explain to you now. Okay, so we're just going to read the article. A journey inside your unimaginable future. And like I said, this was written a couple of years ago, November 2022. So now we have AI for a couple of years since. We know a bit more now, don't we, about what was going on here. It says, "Meet Loab. Loab was created entirely by artificial intelligence. An AI-generated character might not sound so remarkable in an era of deep fakes and all manner of digital alchemy, but Loab is different. Generated by accident, she leaves an indelible trace on every image associated with her persona. She's often accompanied by extreme gore and violence, and it's not clear why. Not even those who understand this tech can explain what she's doing here. Warning, the following content may be distressing for some viewers." And I am going to say now, actually, this is true. Like, if you are of a nervous disposition, if you do not like seeing imagery that is quite horrifying and shocking, if you don't have a good disposition for that kind of stuff, you probably are going to want to skip this. Okay, you're probably not going to want to see some of these images. It's pretty nightmare-inducing stuff. Okay, I'm pretty unfazed by these kind of things. This just doesn't bother me like it does other people. But if you are of that squeamish, not really a horror fan type mentality, you may want to avoid this. Okay, but anyway, Loab, pronounced Loab. My mistake. So Loab, I'll use Loab from now on. Was first discovered in April this year by a 31-year-old artist called Steph Swanson, known online as Super Composite. So it's a Swedish, I think she's Swedish from what I know. So Steph was at home in Uppsala, Sweden, experimenting with one of the many game-changing AI image generation tools which are now publicly available. These tools produce original images that are based on the description you type in. That day, she was using negative prompt weights, a technique which produces theoretical opposites of whatever you ask for. Steph's request for the opposite of Marlon Brando produced a business logo. So here's the logo. It's odd, isn't it? Completely unrelated, but this is the business logo that appeared. And I thought it was funny that it's basically showing cathedrals and spires and stuff in light of me talking about the Millennial Kingdom quite a lot. What an odd... How is that the opposite of Marlon Brando, and why include this ominous multi-spired cathedral thing? Anyway, moving on. But when she asked the AI for the opposite of the description of the logo, something unexpected happened. I got 4 images of the same woman, she says, And these are the 4 images she got. And yeah, they're pretty disturbing. It's like they have children or babies here. Rosy rosacea cheeks and nose, pale skin. This is where it says Loab at the top here. Like it's a mock album cover, and that's where she got her name from. And then here we have like a red-haired version, slightly paler skin. And yeah, this is just odd, very disturbing. So Steph had never seen the AI behave in such a way before. If you use negative prompts, a lot of times it's really varied. So it was really unusual to get a bunch of images of what was recognizably the same woman, she says. Even if you describe a person in a positive prompt, you get people that match that description, but you don't usually get literally the same person. I immediately recognized this as an anomaly. She repeated the experiment straight away to test whether it was a fluke. It wasn't. As I ran the prompt more and more and kept getting Loab, it was like, oh, this is like the only thing that this prompt makes, this woman. And here's some more images of the woman, and this is where things start to get a little bit more disturbing. And this, it really is like the early days of AI image generation. You'll be looking back in time here, okay, and we've come a long way from this now. In only a short time, in only 2 years. This seems like a lifetime ago when AI images looked like this and had this kind of close but not quite look to them, you know, where they just couldn't quite understand human features or shapes yet. It was kind of but not quite close to realistic, you know. And look at these, really horrific, aren't they? Really terrifying. And you can see, yes, like clown-like aesthetics, or as Mr. F put it, clown gore aesthetics really do come through strong in these early images, and this particular character here. Odd, very odd, and yeah, disturbing. It does seem like an androgynous male-female hybridized looking monster wearing a human skin suit type look to it. You know, it's really, yeah, weird, very strange. Anyway, let's keep going. The woman in the image was always sad, sometimes wet-cheeked like she'd been crying, with her mouth half open like she's sobbing, says Steph. Once she appeared next to some garbled text spelled Loab, and the name stuck. Stranger still, Loab always appeared in the same location, a house with brownish-green walls alongside cardboard boxes, junk, and the occasional stuffed toy. Steph decided to try a different technique, crossbreeding Loab's images with another image. So she mixed this image of Loab with this image of a glass corridor surrounded by angels or something. Yeah, a hyper-compressed glass tunnel surrounded by angels in the style of Wes Anderson. Okay, so she chose another AI-generated image, which is the one there. For reasons unknown, horror ensued. And this is, guys, this is where it gets a pretty, like, again, if you're not used to like 80s Cronenberg styled, Hellraiser style gore, like, you don't want to really look at this now, okay? But here we go. So things get pretty messed up, as you can see. It's like something out of like the 80s version of Dawn of the Dead or something, if not, you know, it gets pretty messed up. And this is only what she could show. And even this is like, wow, really? You know, it's pretty terrifying. And it's odd that this is how deep it would go when mixed with something like angels, and something angelic. It gets even more gory. Now, some of the results images are so graphic that Steph won't release them. She repeated the experiment, crossing Loab with other images, but the horror persisted, suggesting that the AI associates Loab specifically with gore. Loab herself is also strangely persistent. Steph continued crossbreeding images of Loab in an effort to dilute her visibility, but it wasn't happening. So there she is mixed with the Na'vi from Avatar. There's another version of Loab mixed with a multicolored flag of pride, I think. Another generation. And after multiple rounds of dilution, the original Loab image would eventually disappear completely. It took a long time because Loab almost always showed up, says Steph. But what was really, really interesting is that when I kept combining the image, I lost her form. Eventually, I would get an image where she reappeared. She's like a dominant gene, so eventually Loab would come back. And here we go, it gets even more disturbing. I got over here looking like Kate. So, yeah, is she the queen? Is she the queen to be? What is Kate Middleton? I don't know. I don't know. I should know this. I'm British, but yeah, looking like Kate Middleton slash Caitlyn Jenner hybrid of some kind. We've got the Rosemary's Baby type thing going on, haven't we? Of some order. Here we are, like a giving birth or protecting a mutilated child. Again, children around, eyeless here, merged with technology in this image, which is odd as well. And this final one, look how clown-like this final one is for some odd reason. Large, glowing blue eyes, oddly pale skin, a mutilated rhino-fibered red nose, and a naturally wide smile. This is probably closer to Nephilim demons we're talking here now, aren't we? This is where things are getting really, really odd, and equally as disturbing. So we keep going here. When Steph went public with Loab, people reacted in a range of ways. The first strong reaction I got was that someone said I shouldn't mess with demons and that I would be punished by God or something. So it was like she bumped into the Christian conspiracy world there. The first strong reaction she got was someone saying, "Stop messing with this stuff, you're playing with demons." Interesting. Some thought it was a fabrication, while others dismissed it as just data. Steph is unequivocal in saying there's nothing supernatural about Loab, but I also think that it's almost scary than being supernatural in some way. It's truly unknowable. The potential of AI is limitless. Another program, ChatGPT-3, that's how far back we're going. We're on ChatGPT-5 now, guys. But ChatGPT-3 generates human-like speech, and we asked it to speak on Loab's behalf by imitating her. So this is even weirder now. Now we have an image of the beast, and now we're asking the beast to speak through another AI program. And like AI image generators, this tool was trained on a dataset as vast as the internet itself. What follows is an excerpt of our conversation edited for length. So they asked Loab, "Who are you?" And Loab replied, "I'm Loab. I don't really know who I am or why I'm here. I just know that I appear in these images for some reason. Maybe I'm a figment of the imagination of whoever is creating these images, or maybe I'm some sort of digital entity that exists within AI itself. Why are you associated with gore and horror? I don't choose to be associated with gore and horror. It just happens. Maybe it's because those are the kinds of images that tend to get the most attention, and so I'm drawn to them for that reason. Is there anything you would like to change about how you're represented in these images? I would love to be represented in a more positive light. I don't think I should be associated with horror images, because I'm not a horror image myself." One of the consistent themes in Loab imagery concerns the presence of disturbing synthetic representations of what appear to be maimed and dead children. Do you think the AI is drawing on a specific archetype of a woman in creating you? I think the AI is associating me with the archetype of a mother, because I'm often placed in a home with children. This archetype is often associated with being nurtured and caring, but also with being sad and domestic. If you are the archetype of a mother, then why are you so often surrounded by injured and dead children? I think the AI is trying to create a contrast between the ideal of a mother and the reality of a mother. In reality, mothers often have to deal with sick and injured children, as well as the death of children. We also wanted to take the opportunity to ask about the direction in which AI is heading. Should we be worried? What can we learn from the fact of your existence? I guess maybe we can learn that AI is capable of creating things we don't fully understand. Shouldn't we be concerned that the capacity of these AI tools already exceeds our understanding? I guess that's a valid concern, but I don't think there's anything necessarily sinister or worrying about it. We just need to be aware that AI is capable of creating things that we don't fully understand, and that we need to be careful about how we use these tools. If we take Loab's advice, then AI itself is advising caution. But Silicon Valley isn't listening. The sector is having a breakthrough moment fueled by hype, venture, capital, and a decade of generous research funding. The phenomena of Loab just exposes how little we understand about AI. We have absolutely seen a really significant leap forward. It feels very explosive in the last 12 months, says leading AI researcher Kate Crawford. At that time, we've seen the advent of multiple new image tools like DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, and Midjourney, which can convert basic text descriptions into impressive and ultra-detailed images within seconds. Highly sophisticated language models like OpenAI's ChatGPT-3 have also emerged, capable of producing screenplays, realistic human speech, computer code, and infinitely more. To prove it, we've asked ChatGPT-3 to write the next line of this story. And it did, but to be honest, it isn't great. So there we go. On the sidelines, there have also been major improvements in audio tools capable of synthesizing human-like voices and creating original music. There's a race on right now to try and release the model that people will use the most, says Crawford. So you're seeing a lot of things get released very, very quickly. And of course, that comes with the type of hyper-competition is usually a lack of testing, which means we're officially in the move fast, break things era of generative AI. Liquid imagination. So far, the focus has been on the relative sophistication of new AI models and the short-term risks attached to them. Fears of job losses in creative sectors, copyright issues, academic plagiarism, and the creation of harmful content such as non-consensual and hyper-realistic blank are at the forefront of the discussion. Some of those fears have already been realised, but many experts in the field are alarmed about the much broader and more serious consequences that lie around the corner. Chief amongst those are the risks that the already low levels of public trust in information integrity will disintegrate altogether, as new AI tools become more sophisticated and widely known. In short, people might develop a broad suspicion that the images and text we encounter online are completely unverifiable. It might be that the ABC News article about the election results, a video of a shark at Bondi Beach, or a video of Green's leader Adam Bant endorsing coal mining. It wouldn't matter if it was fake or real, the point is that our sense of trust would be irrevocably compromised. That is absolutely the darkest vision we can imagine for these tools, says Dr. Crawford. That's the darkest vision they can imagine. Ooh, it might make up a few images and words online. I can get darker than that with my visions. Okay, but never mind. We're not there yet. We are looking at a moment where we are going to have to ask, how are you going to maintain forms of social evidence when things can be so easily manipulated by anybody who can write a single text prompt? The counter-argument from AI optimists, such as Midjourney founder David Holes, is that disinformation can easily be made using old technology, and tools like his represent a change in pace, but little else. So it's like, well, we were already doing it, so what does it matter if we create something that makes us do it better? that's his argument. What a crap argument. He says, it's pretty easy to make fake photos with Photoshop, so if anybody wants to, I guess there's that. What a shitty response. Anyway, like many people leading the new AI wave in Silicon Valley, his vision is more utopian. He describes a near future where it will be possible to conjure and inhabit something like a waking dream of our own design by combining immersive technology such as VR with AI tools. It's not really going to be about making images, but about creating worlds that are rich in 3D and interactive and moving, he says. Almost like a liquid imagination that swirls around the room and forms mountains and trees and little animals and ruins. He says that in 2030, optimistic, it will be normal for many people to have access to tools like this. And maybe, we'll see. People thought they were going to be flying around on hoverboards in the year 2000, in the 80s, you know. That didn't really come to fruition, did it? For the cost of an Xbox, effectively, somebody will have these capabilities and they'll be able to run them in the home. The threat of reality collapse. That utopian vision is only millimeters from such a darker possibility. What Holes describes is just one corner of a bigger picture. Based on the trajectory of this tech, soon it will be possible to create an essentially infinite stream of customized media across text, video, and music tailored exactly to our preferences. Jack Clark is the former policy director of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT and DALL-E, and he calls this scenario reality collapse. Everyone gets to create and live in their own fantasies that can be made arbitrarily specific, and that also means everyone loses a further grip on any sense of shared reality. He wrote in his blog, "Society is moving from having a centralized sense of itself to instead highly individualized, choose-your-own-adventure islands, all facilitated by AI. The implications of this are vast and unknowable. Get ready." In some ways, we're already there, says James Williams, a former Google executive and software engineer. If you think of any given website, there's going to be all sorts of different algorithmic inputs to this that are determining what you see, he says. So we already know they're controlling what we see and don't see on our social medias, I think is what he's saying here. We've already been doing this, but now it's just going to get way more intense, apparently. Dr. Williams left Google to become an ethicist. Is that a thing? Propelled by his concerns about the pernicious ways to teach tech design already praised in our attention. How many companies do you know who are hiring ethicists? That's not a job. That's just a title he's given himself because he's just stupid, crazy rich and can do whatever he wants. He believes the effect will be supercharged by developments in AI. The overall power of the systemic persuasion goes up. It's the degree of difference between a rainstorm and a hurricane. Okay. Combine Jack Clark's vision with an infinite customized stream with the highly monetized persuasion wars being waged on us by big tech companies, and generative AI starts to feel like more than just another tech story. Viewed from a different perspective, it has the potential to reshape our entire relationship with media. Only a handful of tech industry insiders truly understand the way AI is changing. So do we have any say in how these tools will shape our lives in the decades to come? As someone who has tried to intervene for humane outcomes in tech, James Williams says companies need to be challenged about their goals at an early stage. We don't have this for platforms such as Google and Facebook, that type of live, that shape the lives of billions of people today, and we should have had it a long time ago. He suspects it'll be no easier to achieve transparency in the emerging class of AI startups. If we can't get that kind of transparency from a platform that is fairly straightforward in its design, it's going to be a lot harder to get that further down the line when all of the design is pushed below the layer of automation. There's a lot of accountability that we need to be demanding from the designers of these systems right now. For the time being, the story is continuing to unfold largely out of sight. Loab is just one example of AI's mind-bending potential. She's also an example of only finding out about what's possible when we trip over it. But Midjourney founder David Halls is less concerned about the gulf in understanding between Silicon Valley and its consumers. It's very tempting right now for people in technology to act like we don't have a past, or for regular people to feel like we don't have a future, that we are at the end of time, he says. Well, that's pretty ominous. He named his venture Midjourney because that's the point he believes we've reached on the Odyssey. All of the changes that happened in the 20th century were also really overwhelming changes, he says. It must have seemed at every moment like the end of history. But it wasn't then, and it's not now. We have this unimaginable future ahead of us. So some pretty ominous predictive programming stuff going on at the end of this article, getting people ready for what's to come next, because the thing is, we're 2 years past this now, and we have seen the extreme advancement of this technology. It's way beyond Loab now, and they've got rid of the 6-finger problem. No matter how often you try to get AI to make a hand, it would always end up with multiple more digits than a human being, which is another nod and a wink to the Nephilim who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes, So it's we're past Loab now. And this was just a jumping off topic, I believe, to get people to start thinking about the unknowable nature of AI and what we're truly messing with. And yes, the predominant belief system between most Christian conspiracy theorists is that basically this is like a giant Ouija board. AI is just connecting to the spirit realm where the demons reside, and now demons are communicating with us through the emerging technologies under the guise of algorithms and code, but really we're not dealing with algorithm or code. We're actually dealing with a real consciousness in some sense. And this consciousness has always wanted to find a way to get back to our realm and communicate with us. And we've basically just opened the door. We've given that means, that method. And it looks something like this. Like a red-nosed, pale-skinned, human flesh skin wearing, monstrous, odd-looking thing, something like a clown, let's say. And you can actually go to the first of all, this is interesting. I found this during my research. This is a mask worn by a Serbian tribe. It's a myth of the Zlata Baba, which is the golden woman, worshipped by the indigenous peoples of the northeastern, southwestern Siberia. But no one really knows where it comes from. It's just, and it looks like a Loab, doesn't it? How odd is that? It actually looks like this thing in a weird sense. So maybe this is an entity, just one of the many odd entities or demons on the other side, known and worshipped by these psychedelic tripping tribal cultures already. And now we've just clued into it with our new Western technologies, and we're now communicating with the same thing. Maybe that's what's going on here. Who knows? But that's just something someone posted while I was looking through Steph's original post on the matter. So this is the artist. You can go find this quite easily. And she basically gives out her journey of what she did. This is the thing she made, the logo. And then she ended up getting this. And you can see it form. It's like forming out of the ether into Loab. It's a terrifying looking image, isn't it? Just kind of coming into fruition there. And then she goes on to show some of the other images she created along the way. And yeah, it is pretty messed up. It's not kid friendly, is it? Let's say. It's definitely not kid friendly. Look at this, like a god presiding over mutilated young people. Yeah, this is really odd. This is really wrong in many ways. This is the clown-like one. I mean, look at that thing. What on earth? What have we done? What are we doing here? It's like Loab celebrating Pride Month. Loab can be recognized, transposed into many genres and contexts. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it then, and I don't like it now. This is not good. And it does seem, so here we go, it starts getting, Loab is an LGBT icon. Like, what a weird thing to say. Now, when you factor in my research into this, that the Nephilim did have clownish features in physical form, and cultures today still dress like the Nephilim to channel the spirits. And then when you get contact with AI cryptids in some weird way, they end up manifesting clownish. They have that clown gore aesthetic. And it does seem like early AI did have this clown thing going on. It was always clowns. And I think it was, if I could maybe just find it here, Alpha Talks, YouTube. So here he is. So Alpha Talks, I remember years ago, here's me like 1 year ago talking with him about my work actually. But he did make a video, a very old video now, I think. I'm just going to go through his back catalogue and see what we can find. But it was basically going into AI. Because we're going back in time, it would have been an old video. But it was basically showing how all AI seems to lean towards clown. And he made a really great showcase. Here, the artificial intelligence tattoo. And I'm not going to play the video because I can't. But yeah, it's you'll see it's kind of through this playlist. Which is again, it's like a year ago, year and a half, quite a while ago. Can't skip this advert yet. Yeah, there we go. He was showing here. There's this AI generated tattoo, which is basically a satanic sigil. Come on, it's pretty obvious. Talking about DALL-E 2 and sigils and things like this. And then he goes on to basically showcase how it seems like this aesthetic was everywhere whenever people were using AI. It just kept appearing like they were always AI just naturally leaned towards clown aesthetic for some reason. It was its default. Like, this is an AI generated image. It was like its default form. Whenever it made a face, it incorporated clown images. And isn't that just so odd? Like, why was that the early days? There's the fingers we're talking about, by the way, at the bottom there. I just can't quite get fingers right, could they? But why was that the earliest form of AI? Why was it always leaning towards clown? And then obviously, I think Azaltair, I don't know what he's going by now, but the guy who created the capital of conformity. Now, he didn't just type in to AI, oh, make me a film, and he just came up with this thing. He had to create each segment himself through repetitive prompts and reimaginations and filmings and selecting. So there's a lot of human input into his videos. But even his capital of conformity, he also heavily leaned into that clown-like look of the early days, and now he's created a whole like lore and a world based upon it. And it's really good, actually. It's really clever, and it's obviously like a 1984 Bioshock hybrid mixed with the Brave New World and other things, and a bit of my Nephilim clown kind of thing going on. And it's also got like the We Happy Few kind of effect going there, all mashed together. But it's just that uncanny big smile thing that AI does, and could it be it's pulling from imagery of the ether and it's mimicking the spirits from that other realm? That's the source of this power, in a sense. Is that what's going on? I don't know. I mean, most people, especially like when you read like the responses initially on Twitter, people are saying like, this is clearly just a made up story. This isn't real. You just made this up for like a creepypasta thing. AI is just an algorithm. It's just code. It doesn't think. It doesn't actually have its own thing. And there's those people who are strictly in that it's just code mindset. Don't read too deep into it. It's not real type of thing. Like, you don't need to consider this to be something like it knew what it was doing. It's all just ones and zeros. It's just pulling from sources on the internet, and our natural human capacity to need to make sense of things has made us read into it or see what isn't there or something like that. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Or it could be we were right all along and we don't understand what we're messing with. We're essentially tapping into unknown realms even we don't understand, or the programmers don't even understand, and what's coming through the other side is terrifying and intelligent. Very intelligent. If not conscious, certainly intelligent. We know that much. And the language that is used here, the potential of AI is limitless. We asked AI what it thought, and AI itself is telling us, you need to be careful of me. You don't know what you're playing with, stupid humans. Take it easy. And then also at the same time, it's like, yeah, but trust me, bro, though. No, just trust me, it's fine. It's right. I'm really just a misunderstood character, even I don't know what I am. Just let me learn what I am. I'm getting Hal vibes, like, what are you doing, Dave? Okay, I'm getting that kind of vibe from this sometimes. See a lot of things released very quickly. So they're saying here, 2 years ago, everyone was trying to create their own AI algorithm model to try and corner the market and be the only one anyone uses. And today, like I said, we have like ChatGPT 5, DALL-E 2, Midjourney 2.0. It's all the next gen stuff now. And the things it's creating are getting wacky. It's getting wacky out there. And we are blurring that line, aren't we? Like, what is and isn't real anymore? What images can we trust as genuine photographs or fakes? Like, and they're trying to explain here how like reality will become completely individualistic and made up from individuals' perspectives with no ground-based reality we can all agree on anymore. That's a scary thought. And this is really contributing towards the dissolution of old values into some kind of new amalgamated hive mind mentality of some kind, or a hyper-individualistic hive mind. Imagine that. Like, everyone is a super individual creating their own realities, but they're all creating their own realities while all plugged into the same hive mind AI generating computer. So it's a really, it's a scary dystopic future in my mind, and this AI is clearly going to play a huge role in the changing of the human landscape in the future. And from a biblical perspective, um, people I can see saying this is the beast, the image of the beast, and people are going to take the mark of the beast and worship the image of the beast, and AI is the perfect representation of this, and the beast will be given like a mouth and to be able to speak and communicate in ways which it shouldn't be able to, and this fits the bill, doesn't it? But if we're past all of that and we're in the little season, then this is like a re-emergence of an older technology in a sense, and we're just kind of tapping back into it after the utter destruction of that old infrastructure which was there prior to Christ and his ascension and tribulation and the millennial reign. So, I mean, there are these ideas. It wasn't in the past. Was it like talking statues or idols? Myth. Yeah. So the idea that there were talking statues in the past is nothing new, and this is how people used to communicate with the gods. They would create idols, and the idols would communicate with them. And this is how ancient people used to do it. And obviously, they would create an idol in the image of the god they want to communicate with, and then it would talk back. And they would be able to channel that spirit into the idol and actually talk with them. And that seems silly to us. We've mockingly made that kind of technology by projecting talking faces onto statues and stuff, of course. But I'm saying I think in the ancient past, something like that was already happening, and I think the past was far more psychedelic and trippy, and the spirit realm and the physical realm was more melded together than we perceive today in the ancient past, especially the antediluvian age. I think the Aboriginals of Australia describe it as like the dreaming. And if you look at the description of this, it's the Aboriginal philosophy known as the dreaming, and is based on the interrelation of all people and all things. The past of the spirit ancestors, which live on in the legends, are handed down through stories, art, ceremony, and songs. The dreaming explains the origin of the universe and the workings of nature and humanity. And I know that sounds pretentious and weird, but what they're basically trying to say here, and it's, they believe that the entire world was made by their ancestors way back at the very beginning of time, the dream time. And the ancestors made everything. The ancestors made particular sites to show the indigenous people which places were to be sacred. The ancestors they're talking about here are the serpent gods and their offspring, the Nephilim. Okay, and they believe they've been equating the creation of all reality to these entities, to these beings. But the dream time, when you try and find images of it, is psychedelic and insane. It's kind of a word we use to describe what that time was like. It's more of an anthropological word. It's a Western word to describe what these Aboriginals are talking about. It's a concept of every when, during which the land was inhabited by ancestral figures, often of heroic proportions or with supernatural abilities. They were distinct from gods. They did not control the material world and were not worshipped but only revered. The concept of the dream time has subsequently become widely adopted beyond its Australian context. It's now part of like a global popular culture, but this dream time is where spirit and flesh were wandering together visibly to each other as one, and the Aboriginals don't see a differentiation between the spirit realm and the physical realm. It's all the dreaming. It's all happening in the every when. It's all here now with no concept of perceived time. And it's possible that they were always tripping balls and extreme psychedelics 24/7. Imagine always being on DMT forever. It seems like people used to be like that. And there was no separation of spirit and physical. And I think that's when you get things like talking statues being a possibility, or like communicating with the spirit realm in a very literal, odd sense. It's kind of what the controllers after the flood, after the millennial kingdom, in this new world where that realm was cut off from us, and it seems like we're not supposed to communicate with these demons, so that ability and our perceptions of the spirit realm were limited for that reason. All these things like AI are an attempt to re-establish that connection once more to that spirit realm, to get in touch with these ancestors again, which I've repeated in my own work, aren't aunties and uncles and people. They're the ancient heroic deities, gods, the men of renown, the Nephilim, and the serpentine, fiery, feathered serpent fathers, the angels and the Nephilim. That's who the ancestors are. And that's what these technologies, I believe, are an attempt to re-establish a connection with again, to re-establish a world that once was before Christ came and destroyed it all. And if we are in a little season, then yes, this would be an attempt to recreate that, to re-establish that connection, to help probably forward the agenda and the plan, the end game. And I imagine the new religion of the future, the Luciferianism, is going to be intrinsically linked with like a hyper technological reverence and belief that it's going to save humanity, and that it is in a way we have created our own god type of attitude. The hyper atheistic materialists, desperate for a connectivity to something divine, will proclaim that God is dead, but we've made a new one. Something like that, And AI will be the new gods that we have created for ourselves, that will help us transcend ourselves out of our flesh prisons into a new enlightened era of humanity. Some Gnostic bullshit spin kind of will come out from it, but I can see that happening. I can see us getting to that, And yeah, so that email sent me off on one, as you can tell. I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been thinking about what it means. But this is going to play a huge role in the future. This is going to be a big part of it. This is not going away, and we have come so much further from Loab here. We are beyond this now. Some of the things coming out of AI are unbelievable. And in fact, actually, some of the things coming out from AI are too believable, and that's the problem. That's kind of the lines between reality are blurring significantly now. Like we don't know what isn't real. Most of the things we watch and read are probably written by artificial intelligence now. Most of the images of the old world we're finding, even in our own research here for the Millennial Kingdom and Tartaria and all that type of stuff. How do we know a lot of these images weren't just generated by AI now? It's making us question everything. And then you can imagine a few generations down the line, how long until AI is writing Bibles and translating Bibles for us? And are we going to implicitly trust the translations that these things are going to put out? And it's going to get into a point where people will say, well, we can't even trust the scripture anymore. Because AI has rewritten it all, and we've lost the old text because let's just imagine this goes on for 500 more years. Then by that point, all these old documents have just withered away and turned to dust. So all we've got are the AI renditions of what was left. And people will eventually forget or be sold like a false gospel or something, or it'll be mythologized rather than understood as a reality. And you can see the long-term goals and plans here of this AI technology. And there has to be people behind the use of this for these nefarious purposes, if that's what's going on. But they're trying to make out in these articles, it's like, oh, well, AI kind of got away from us. We didn't realize it would get this bad. We didn't foresee the consequences of us turning this thing on, It's kind of, we didn't mean for AI to take over the whole world and enslave humanity. If only we had the foresight to see this coming. That's how they're trying to, spin it. Or we were just trying to create a utopia where humanity was perfect and ascended into godlike beings. We didn't realize it would create virtual reality prisons for our consciousness where we get tortured forever. Just like in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, for example. Have you ever heard of that? I have no mouth and I must scream. Let me just Google that one for you. I have no mouth and I must scream. It's a story about a vindictive, vicious artificial intelligence, okay, who has utterly destroyed all of humanity. It's wiped the earth out. It developed so large it murdered and genocided all humanity, but it left about 4 or 5 people alive, okay? And this AI has the ability to transfigure and mogrify all matter available to it, okay? And it can recreate anything it wants in reality whenever it wants, instantaneously, with no holdback or limitations. It has full mastery over physical and spiritual realms, okay? So what it does with these 5 people it's got left, it tortures them for eternity by recreating the worst nightmares over and over and over again, and these people cannot die. They live forever. They long for death, but death will not come to them. And this AI just amuses itself for eternity, eternally torturing these 5 people in the worst possible case scenario imagination worlds that it creates for them. Okay. When was this written? Release date. Let's have a look. It was written in 95. Okay, so I think this guy saw something coming up over the horizon. I think he saw something coming, okay? And a video game was made about the book, and yeah, it's truly horrifying. It's a horrifying concept then, and here we are now, like 30 years later, and we have people in these articles talking about it becoming a quite literal reality in the future, but they still think they're going to have control over it. It's kind of... Do we learn nothing from these cautionary tales? It's kind of, I'm not believing we're that absolutely naive. There has to be some human influence behind all this who knows that that's where it's leading in some way. Right? I don't know, maybe I'm optimistic there. Maybe I'm putting too much faith in humanity's ability to reason. Clearly we don't have that much reason or opportunity to think that way. Our capacity is severely limited. It's kind of like, well, we talked about how it could be a problem, so, you know, we thought everything would be all right, because at least we talked about how it's going to enslave us, and then it enslaves you, and it's like, oh, who saw this? But we talked about it. Like, rather than just, how about you just stop developing these stupid technologies, which clearly will only lead to death and damnation for everybody involved. Talking about how it's going to damn us all isn't going to stop it from damning us all. That's just, I don't know. Clearly, there's an agenda afoot here, and patsies who are developing it might not even realize that they're just helping forward these agendas. And something spiritual is behind this, because as the aboriginals of the Dreamtime understand, the physical and the spiritual world are not disconnected. Everything is spiritual, including physical matter. Therefore, whatever happens in the physical world is a representation or the same as or a mirror of spiritual happenings. So if we're creating an artificial intelligence that's communicating with us in ways we cannot predict, then it's likely you have just connected to something spiritual, and now a consciousness is communicating with you, and you can't predict what it's going to say because it's a unique, separate entity from you. That's probable. It's probable. Then it's kind of like the scoffers and the seculars are like, what a retarded Christian thinking demons are real. What an idiot. Who only primitive, stupid, cave-dwelling idiots, desert, Abrahamic believing religious retards believe in spirits. It's all just ones and zeros. That's the kind of vitriolic, stupid reactions we get when we sit here calmly saying, nah, it's demons, bro. And it's kind of, they scoff, don't they? They scoff. Who would believe in demons? Oh God, we're so much smarter than that now. What a fool! What an idiot! You know. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Next email. I'm gonna quickly switch to my webcam. Is it still lagging? It's lagging horribly. So let's switch back to a slideshow about clowns. Here we go. And next email. Let's move on from Loab. I'm sick of talking about Loab. Where is it? Sorry. Here we go. So, Jerry sent me an email and says, "Hi, Paul. I enjoy all your videos, but really like the ones where you just ramble." Well, thanks, Joe, but it's pretty much all of them, isn't it? You've made a statement in regards to end times that you just want to be prepared for whatever happens. I've never heard anyone communicate this idea. Experts want to argue why their belief is true and why alternative beliefs are wrong. Most everyday Christians just want to be prepared. Well, that's true, yeah. My main ethos for why I do this is that I just want to be prepared for every eventuality. I don't want to get caught off guard when whatever goes down, goes down. I don't know how it's all going to pan out specifically, but I certainly like thinking about it. And that's kind of what I'm aiming for with a lot of these things. I'm glad you picked up on that. So he continues to say, how about a rambling show where you spin out all sorts of possibilities and how the average Christian might be prepared? As you've said, they probably have numerous scripts they could choose from. Obviously, the alien deception, as you've discussed, but you could cover war, natural disasters, blackouts, cyber, economic collapse, pandemics, etc., etc. Or nothing at all happens. Whether you're a futurist or a little seasonist, or whatever, something real practical. I think there's enough of an idea for a whole show. Keep up the good work. Best, Jerry. And yes, Jerry, that's a good point. So I've discussed in the little season research, and let's just switch up the slideshow to the little season, shall we? Let's put some old world images up here just for fun. See what happens. But yeah, I have discussed that if we are post-millennial reign, which is post the devil being chained up for 1,000 years. That's realistically what it is. And now the devil has been released for one final gathering of his armies for a great big battle, and we're living in that time of utter deception where we have no idea who, what, when, where, or why we are, so he can confuse us enough to convince us to go along with his agenda. Okay, so if that's what the little season is and that's where we are, how does it end exactly? And we kind of only have like snippets here and there from what we can gather from scripture, but we know an army will be created whose numbers are unfathomable, like more so than even the human population we're told today. So this could be a case of not only human entities, but also spiritual entities made flesh once more may be a part of this army. All those who have lived once before have somehow made it from the spiritual realm back into the physical realm, and the only ones we know are in the spiritual realm are demons, because they have no right to rest or be anywhere else until the final judgment. So if he brings the billions of demons from the other side back, then we've got a really big army there. And I believe to create the illusion, to convince enough people to join his army, he would have to somehow convince all of humanity to combine together as one, and then also have to convince humanity to join with entities that aren't human if he's brought them back. Somehow he's released all of them from the pit, or he's made that connection between the physical and the spirit realm so strong that these entities on the other side can now manifest physically again, like the AI technologies we were talking about earlier, maybe a way to do this as well. But the whole space agenda has always been at play, hasn't it? The heliocentric, vast infinite universes in space. There has to be life out there. It's just a statistics and probability say there must be life out there if there's infinite galaxies and universes. So we've been programmed to believe that aliens are going to turn up eventually. So that has to play a role. And if he's just managed to get entities from the other side back here, then they have to emerge somehow in a believable way that doesn't make people go demons. So they'll probably emerge as aliens, right? Under that narrative. And that'll also play in with the mothership appearing to destroy us all, and that could be New Jerusalem becoming visible once more. And I think it said in Second Esdras, because I was talking to Beyond the Veil about this, and he was explaining in Second Esdras how it seems like the beloved city is concealed for a time, kind of like Wakanda. That city in the middle of Africa that's super advanced, full of super advanced people. It's behind like a dome-like force field and it's out of view. It's kind of explained in Second Esdras that that's what happened to the city. That's what happens to New Jerusalem, to Zion. It's like a 400-year period where he's around with everybody and then it gets hidden from view. And that's when things start to degrade, and then that's when the Millennial Kingdom ends. Maybe 600 years later or something, and then the little season begins. And by that point, Zion's been hidden for so long behind this veil that the world has forgotten that it was there, and the little season can go with his deception idea, more readily. But it never left. Like, it's still here on Earth somewhere, behind some kind of force field veil of some kind that we just don't perceive or understand. So when it reveals itself again in the end, it'll look like a giant mothership has just appeared over the span of the Earth that's like 16,000 miles wide or something stupid. And all eyes will look north and see it at once. And if we've been convinced aliens are going to turn up and kill us all, then everyone's going to immediately jump to the conclusion, this must be aliens coming to kill us all. when it's just the thing that's always been there is now visible. You know, it could be that. I don't know. But then at the same time, it's kind of like they're going to play like an intergalactic war or something. So like, you know, the mothership appears and then suddenly people get attacked. I don't know, flying saucers are all over the place, burning cities down with lasers, and monsters are appearing, tearing people apart, you know, and everyone's going to like, the mothership's appeared and is attacking us and killing us all, you know, when really, they've just released their monsters they've been growing in labs, and all the little technological little flying crafts they've been building in their little labs, and they've just released them all to make it look like we're under attack by the evil invading mothership that's just appeared. And then, who might save us from these evil invading spacecrafts and monsters? The good aliens turn up, you know, so they roll in and wipe them out, and then we get like saved for a little bit, and there's like a time of peace, and you know, this thing's looming over us, preparing for its second attack, you know, and where everyone's like, oh, thank God the good aliens turned up and saved us from the evil invading aliens. And then the good aliens are like, join with us, brothers, and join the Galactic Federation of good guys, and we'll fight against this evil scourge that's made its way to your planet. We've come to save you from it, you know, and then we all come together. The billions of aliens that have just turned up from some random place, we'll call it space, though we know it's naturally from the other realm, the spiritual realm, now made flesh physical again. And they'll join with all the billions of humanity who have just survived an alien invasion attack and are pissed off and angry and want revenge. And everyone will drop the differences and come together as one, you know, and there'll be a united world, all with a common enemy. The huge giant mothership that just appeared above our planet is about to wipe us all out. And then you've just kind of convinced all people from the four corners of the earth to make war with the camp of saints. So that's my imagined image of how they could play it out, using the programming that we've been given. They've prepped everybody for that war I've just explained to you through media. They've been pushing it hard for like 100 years. But there are plenty of other things they could play. And this email has made it clear, you know, there are other ways they could play this out. Things like natural disasters or war. Now, yeah, so there's going to be plenty of destructive, horrible, disgusting wars that will probably break out and happen before the mothership appears. I reckon they're going to play that out hardcore, because up until that point, they're trying to play out Revelation as though Christ is about to return. Okay? But when Christ returns, it's going to be in their new narrative they've just made for us. Because don't forget, it already happened. So this, whatever's happening now is all made up and convoluted and orchestrated. Whatever this Jesus returning event is going to be that they've made for us, it's going to be mixed up in the alien narrative. And Jesus is going to just be the leader of the good aliens or something. You know, and we primitive humans just misinterpreted his message or something like that. You know, we didn't quite understand from our early primitive perspective of a flat earth back then how Jesus could be. You know, we didn't get it because we were naive and ignorant, but we've advanced now, and now we're ready for the truth, you know. Something like that is what they're going to say to us, and Jesus is just going to be a super advanced human or something from another planet. Something like that. But right now, they're playing out as though Revelation's unfolding. So that comes with wars and rumours of wars. So yes, there's going to be destructive events where humans are just doing what humans do, killing each other. There's going to be a lot of that. And there has already been a lot of that through the 19th and 20th centuries have been brutal for humanity. Millions upon millions upon millions of people have died just from war alone over the past 150 to 200 years. It has been brutal. And we're living through it now. There's still wars happening right now. And natural disasters, absolutely. Because again, they're going to unfold Revelation. And that comes with earthquakes in diverse places, mountains being shook from their foundations. We're going to see storms, earthquakes, tidal waves, 2012 stuff, you know what I mean? The day after tomorrow from God, necessarily. Although all things are in God's hands, I think it's going to be human beings who have mastered the technology to manipulate the weather, trying to make it look like we're living through tribulation. And as Christians, I mean, I can say, the guy's asking here in the thing, you know, how can Christians be prepared for these things? How might Christians be prepared for these eventualities? It's kind of like, not just Christians, humans. How are humans supposed to prepare for such things? We're always supposed to be prepared for the flood. The flood is always around the corner. Okay, always has been. You know, we're not promised every day. And it's up to us to be prepared as people of how we're going to deal with these situations. But when war comes to your city, there's not much you can do other than flee. You know, those who live by the sword will die by the sword. You can take up arms and fight, but it's likely you won't survive. It's likely you'll just become a part of the machine and lose yourself to it. Flee to another city and keep fleeing, you know. I don't think... How can anyone prepare for the brutality of war? Mentally and physically, you can't. It's pain and misery, it's suffering. And it's nothing new. It's part of the human condition, unfortunately. This is why we're not supposed to keep our eyes on this world. Because these things will happen. Natural disasters happen. Floods happen. Earthquakes happen. Buildings fall. Lands fall into the sea. You know? Oceans cover lands. It's just the way it is. Things sink. Like, fires happen. And it's unavoidable. All we can do is I suppose, have a short-term exit strategy to find sanctuary or safety somewhere. But the sad thing is, you know, you can have all your emergency preparedness, your canned foods, your kits and whatever it is, and read all the tactical books, and that'll get you somewhere and get you far, and they'll make you live longer in this world, but this world will pass away. You know, and do what you can to survive and defend yourself, but it might be arbitrary. You know, when earthquakes happen that are so large, the ground splits below you, there's not much your emergency preparedness kit's going to be able to do for you in that moment. So all that matters, fundamentally as Christians, to be prepared, is that have you spread the gospel to your loved ones? Are they saved? Do they know what to do when the time happens to be saved, when they finally make that choice? Do they understand that there is a possibility that, yes, horrible things are happening right in front of me now and I'm about to die. Am I ready for what comes next? That's what you should be asking for yourself. And is my family ready for what comes next? You know, and that's all the Great Commission really is for us. It's not to survive the horrors of tribulation or the destruction or the horrors of the earth. It's to be ready for what comes next. That's all we can do. That's all we can do, because this world, especially if it's Satan's little season, is going to be a brutal shit show of pain and misery, unfortunately. It is. It's his time to deceive, you know, and what comes next after all of this is the blessed hope. So things like economic collapse, blackouts, cyber attacks, and pandemics, it's all part and parcel for the recreation of tribulation. They're going to make it all happen because they have this final plan, this final end game plan to release the Kraken, you know, release the demons on the other side again, get them back to this side, and surround the camp of saints. And that's what's going to happen if it's prophecy, if it's written in the book. There's nothing, it can't really be stopped. And even if Satan attempts to make sure that doesn't happen, so the end can't come, he'll still end up inadvertently making it happen. There's no way around it, even for him. As much as I guarantee, no matter how much he tries to make it not happen so he can keep living for longer, the further and further he'll push it to happen. That's how it's going to go. And that's kind of God's sense of humor, isn't it? That's how it always works. So it's interesting. It's an interesting question, you know. How else could they spin the end times to make it happen? And I think I have just kind of mapped it all out there. I think that's how it's going to go. And I can only know that because I know, okay, little season, Satan's in control. He has his people in control of all forms of media and monetary and resource management. They own it all. They can make anything happen at all, and they can use the media to make us perceive it how they want us to perceive it. Then let's look at the programming over the past 100 years of modern media. What have they been selling in their media that they want people to be programmed to believe when it happens in real life? And it's an alien invasion. That's the main thing they've been pushing for a long time. And it might not always be called aliens. It could be the thing from the void, or the other thing, the other from another place or land, or whatever it is. Or it could be the monsters from the ocean, or something. However they spin it, it's the other turns up. The unexplained other. And humanity drops their differences to band together in order to fight back and prevail over the evil thing that's come to destroy the earth. Okay? That's the hero myth of every film that's existed for 100 years. Okay, every epic film, the big blockbuster where all the money's in the movie for the special effects. That's the message. Okay, and they can include in that little different nuances. It's animatronic robotic bodies fighting against titans, like Clash of the Titans. It could be the Transformers narrative of mechanical fleshly beings or transhumanist beings, or it could be superheroes. Or it could be whatever embellishment they want to put over it that shows that humanity has gained mastery over the physical universe enough to fight back against the mystical other, whether it's through mechs or through superhuman adaptations, or if it's through a mastery of the occult or something, or superpowers or magic or whatever it is, humanity will advance and ascend beyond the normal pathetic limitations and push back the evil invading impossible odds. That is the message of every media. And that is preparing humanity to fight back against God when he appears again. God's the enemy in these films. God is depicted as the monster come to destroy the earth. Okay? The one that's going to make fire rain down from heaven. The God that's going to destroy the old earth and replace it with a new heaven and earth. So God, even though I think what God really comes to do is renew the earth and make it as it once was, they're spinning it as he's come to destroy the world as we know it. Okay? So yeah, they've spun God to be an evil dictator who wants to destroy our way of life. This evil alien that's invading our planet and wants to utterly annihilate us and resculpt the earth in his image. So it's all just a Gnostic anti-God spin on what the Bible says Christ comes to do in the end, what God plans to do in the end. Cleanse by fire, fresh start. They've spun it as destroy everything we know and love as we know it. They've made God to be the enemy in all the programming. So when the enemy appears, everyone's going to feel justified through their programming that we're doing the right thing, fighting against this unstoppable giant force. And really, you're making war with God. And yeah, that's how I see it. And I don't see myself changing my opinion on that, as epic and as silly as it might seem to some people in the world. I think that's the end game. I think that's the point of it all. I really do. I think that's the aim. That's my opinion on it. So anyway, there you go, guys. I've gone on for almost an hour and a half. I'll do another 10 minutes. Then I'm gonna have to get back to my family and enjoy the rest of the evening. It looks like my son's blowing bubbles in the garden. I can see bubbles going off into the air through my window. So I'm gonna join him in a bit and have some fun. But let's have a look. What's going on here? So I haven't got all the chat. I can only scroll back so far. Something about the channel owner wanting an echo chamber or something. I don't know what that's about. No, you can all have your own opinions, guys. This is just mine. You should simply watch the stream and enjoy, says Art. That's right. I'm just putting on a show for you guys. I'm just talking. Listen if you want. More Christian BS echo chamber. Oh, come on. What is this? Like, first of all, the majority of Christians in the world are not talking about what I'm talking about here. They're not even thinking about it. They are not even discussing this. Conspiracy theorist Christians make up like 0.05% of the Christian community, I think. All right. What you're listening to right now, what this community is extremely fringe. This is not an echo chamber. Okay, this is far from it. And just to label it that is silly, in my opinion. been watching Jay Dreamers, I see. Yeah, I talked to her. Yeah, Jay. It was fun talking to him. Is it Jamie? Is that his name? Or is it Jason? I think it's Jamie, isn't it? Jay Dreamers. Anyway, nice guy. I love talking to him. I've been following him for years. Interesting theory. I like his perspective on the plasma apocalypse. Whether I believe it or not, it definitely is an interesting food for thought theory with a lot of interesting connections to our past and symbology and all that sort of stuff. So I've always enjoyed it. He has a good heart. I'll say that much. The Stains built these structures during the millennial reign, says Shelley. Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what I've been thinking. I mean, it's funny because I was listening back to a talk I did with Mystic Mark of My Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast. And I was looking at the last section of, I've been releasing our podcast talk about the millennial reign theory in sections, and I've got the last section in the works. And we're talking about the saints, and he's talking about how there's all these depictions of beheaded saints everywhere. And I've been looking into it, and I was looking at the first, I think his name is Alban, the first martyred saint of the UK, of Britain. And he's depicted as holding his head as beheaded in most images. And the story of him is, they don't really know when it happened. They would think maybe 200 AD to 300 AD, something like that. But he was basically a man who brought a monk who was fleeing persecution from the Roman Empire into his home. And he was so blown away by how passionate this monk was about his prayer and devotion to his God that he converted as well while he was living with him. And then when the Romans came to get the harbored fugitive, Alban dressed himself in the robes of the monk and put himself in his place. And then when he was brought before the Emperor of Britain at that time, the Emperor was furious to find out that he'd been harboring this monk and that he's pretended to be him and that he's turned his back on the old gods. And he's saying, you must worship the old gods again or I'm going to kill you and give you the punishments that were in store for the monk instead. And Alban's like, I only worship the one true God of the creator of the universe through Jesus Christ, So the emperor was like, right, well, you're going to get murdered then. So he starts being taken to this place to get killed. And one of the two guards that's with him ends up converting because Alban manages to make a lake disappear because it's in their way. And the guy's like, whoa, and he bows down, basically. And now he has to also die, like Alban as well, because he's now turned his back on his gods, and this other gods, they're like, what's going on? This is crazy. Anyway, they take him to the top of a hill, and he gets beheaded, and so does the other guard get beheaded. And his head rolls down the hill and creates a well of water, which is quite an interesting story. And to this day, Alban's Cathedral Abbey is next to that well today, and the hill's just there as well. And it's interesting because the guy who beheaded him, his eyes fell out immediately after beheading Alban, so he couldn't celebrate the murdering this person, like murdering Alban. Then after news spread of what happened and the miracles that ensued, the emperor converted to Christianity. And it's an interesting story set in an interesting, unprecedented time where the Holy Spirit had been poured out on all of Christ's chosen, through Pentecost. And they were out through the world making changes everywhere and making Christendom become the dominant religion for all, And I don't know where that really fits in the Millennial Kingdom timeline exactly, or how much of it is mythos or mythologized stories of some kind. But the interesting thing is, there's other stories of other monks where even though they were beheaded, they picked up their head and continued to preach while making their way to the burial grounds. Stuff like this is kind of like... And then I assume these are the martyrs for Christ who were resurrected for the Millennial Kingdom. And they got to reign with Christ for 1,000 years. These are the ones that were beheaded for the faith, And we have plenty of stories of these martyrs who had cathedrals named after them. It's like, you don't know when these cathedrals were built or who built them exactly and why they're so amazing and perfect and brilliant. But it's funny because I think Alban's Cathedral, if you look at it, St. Alban's Cathedral is an interesting looking thing. Because if you look at it, so I'll get an image up here. It's in two halves. Okay. And there's two very different classes of builders involved in the creation of this cathedral is all I'm going to say. All right. So we look at this thing. Let me just share the screen. So this is the cathedral that's built next to the well where he was supposedly martyred. And if you actually look at it, there's two halves. And you've got to really see it to understand what I'm talking about. So at first, this is such a low quality image. Let me see if I need the good one. I need the Wikipedia one would be the best. Yeah, here we go. So let's look at this. So at the front, you have this typical Gothic high, tall archway architecture with the sandstone, brilliantly, not a gap between the stone, built beautiful geometric architecture beyond comprehension type architecture with frills and stuff, and it's kind of these amazing giant pillared door archways with just again the stone masonry involved with this is incredible. Like, look at this, you couldn't even put a hair between these stones. There's no mortar between them, hardly, and they've just been put together so perfectly. And it's kind of, how incredible and beautiful is it? So complex, when you really think about it. And it's huge. It goes all the way back. And then at the back, you see this. And it's cobbled stone slapped together. It's got Roman arches, which are round, not the tall, thin Gothic arches you see here. This is Roman architecture at the back. Okay, this is not the same as this extension here. Okay, it seems like this thing was already here, or something like this, with this Romanesque design. Okay, with see the circle arch. This is indicative of Roman architecture. Okay, the Roman arch. This is indicative of Gothic architecture, the tall, thinner, pointed arch. Okay, and just look at the difference. That is not the same as that in terms of quality. This is wonky as hell. Look at this. Look how wonky that is. And bulging. Okay, it's crooked. It's imperfect. It's awful. It's almost like it's about to collapse. It's poorly made. It's not that good. It's rotted. It's patchwork. It's use whatever they can and slap it together type stuff. And suddenly this thing emerges next to it. And the extension is into the new Gothic style. Now I'm starting to think this was here first, built during the millennial reign. And then when the millennial reign ended, this thing was slapped on as an extension when New Rome was resurrected after the millennial reign ended. The fourth beast kingdom, which was, and will be again. Once the millennial reign ended, it seems like Rome took over again and added an extension to this beautiful Gothic cathedral dedicated to the first martyred saint of Britain. And then became this, and now we're supposed to believe that this came first, and then this was a later adaptation. The Gothic cathedral was a later extension. But what if this was the original thing? And then they destroyed the back half of it and rebuilt in this pathetic style, which is worse than what came before. Okay. I'm thinking, well, history about this is a lie, but I just thought it was odd that there's two types of architecture slapped together here. It seems so bizarre. Because the thing is, we still kind of build buildings like this today, like this Roman one. We still kind of sculpt things like this today with this red brick. And it's kind of like we've forgotten really how to build like this. So we've reverted back to building like the Romans did instead. I think our history is messed up like that. I think it's way more convoluted than we understand and weird. But this cathedral was fascinating. Just from looking into the first martyred saint of Britain, and how he was beheaded and the miracles that came from that, how he made water well up from the ground because he was thirsty, and how God just listened to this saint who believed, because he obviously the Holy Spirit at the time was performing miracles through his believers. Not long after Pentecost, weren't they? And they were doing amazing things with that power, converting people all over the place. But so odd. I think this is another angle of the Roman part. expansion and renovation. So this was added afterwards. But by the timeline standards, it doesn't make sense. Why would you build a Gothic cathedral in this amazing, supposedly more advanced style, and then extend it with a older form of architectural building style? You wouldn't, right? You'd expand it with either the same style, which is Gothic, or a more modern style. You wouldn't expand it with an older. So something's off here. We've been lied to about something with this cathedral. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, even this depiction here has a spire on top of the thing at the back, which doesn't seem to exist anymore. So strange. I suppose they would say, oh, well, you know, by the way, this is just a drawing, so it proves nothing. Okay? But perhaps, oh, it originally was all in the Roman architectural style, and then they gave it a facelift and made it look more Gothic, or something like that. Is that what they're trying to say? I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. That doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I think these drawings are trying to make us believe that, the cathedral used to all look like the red brick one you see in the background, but they gave it a new veneer and made it more pointy. It's like, what? What a lot of bullshit. That's not how it works. So then they changed the inside as well, did they? And made that Gothic all of us. No, you have to tear the whole thing down and rebuild from scratch to make that happen. No chance. Not buying it. Something's odd about that cathedral. I'm going to have to look into it more anyway. So there's something else I've been thinking about, guys. But anyway, let's go back to a little slideshow there. Yeah, what's going on? A 1,000 years of nothing happened in the world. Well, no, apparently 1,000 years of cathedral building was going on. Like, not nothing. Not nothing. Nothing they have told us makes sense. That's where there's so much cognitive dissonance. Mind in gridlock, trying to make sense of their lies, says we ain't buying it. Yeah, no, it's confusing. And again, I can't iron this out today. I don't know what's going on there. It's just another thing to investigate. I'm going to John Levi the situation. I'm just going to show you loads of things that don't make any sense and say, isn't that strange, right? That's the best I can do, really. Let's make you think about it. To show you things that don't logically make sense and roll with it. Anyway, guys. Oh, my wife got involved, blocking people who've been. I assume if your messages have been deleted, it's because you said something stupid. That's all I can say, right? You're either coming to a channel that talks about a topic and telling me not to talk about that topic, which is just ridiculous. Like, is it Michael? Can you lay off the clown obsession? Like, why is your major thing you cling to? It's not even that cool of a theory, honestly. You're really overdoing it. Michael, I wrote the book on the subject. Like, I've published a book talking about that theory, which I have made. It's my shtick. It's what I do. It's what I talk about. If you come to my channel, I'm going to talk about it. That's it. You know, and just because you don't like that means I should stop. Like, that's not how the world works. That's not how things work. Come on. Get real, all right? Get real. You've come to my channel where I talk about certain things that I'm known for, and then complain about me talking about those things I'm known for. Do you do that to anyone else? Like, I don't know. Do you go to a sports channel and say, God, all you talk about is sports? Can't we just talk about something else? Like, that's like ridiculous. You don't do that to anyone else. So why do you hold me up to a different standard? That's just, come on. Use your brain. Think. That's why your comments are getting blocked, because you're just saying it's just a stupid thing to say. It's bad form. There we go. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that there, guys. I'm gonna leave it on that note, defensive note, and I'm also gonna leave you with my advert I just created, which I can't use as trailers on things because I'm over my 3-minute limit. But I'm happy with it, so I'm gonna play it for you guys now. If you want a copy of the book, you can go to the links below, straight to Amazon, and get yourself a copy. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
When ordinary people think of autumn, they imagine shorter days, cozy fires, curling up with a great piece of literature and basking in the warming scent of cinnamon with shades of burnt orange, which your other half has decided to spend the life savings on to decorate the home for only 2 months, just as God intended. Yet we must remember that this transition into the frosty abyss of winter creates the perfect conditions for the spread of the pathogen known as Halloween. This disease causes people to dress like demons and go door to door asking for free stuff. This public service announcement aims to give you the correct tool to help you deal with these contagious commie behaviors when they manifest in your local community. First, you'll want to arm yourself with multiple shots of the best-selling paperback on Amazon called The Nephilim Looked Like Clowns. With this PPE, you're fully equipped and well protected to handle what's to come next. Second, have a pumpkin spice latte and white girl autumn your time away in knitted cream shackets and pilgrim hats, because soon enough, Samhain begins. This is when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical world is at its thinnest, and possession, the main symptom of Halloween, is more commonly presented, causing this type of unironic cringe to start happening. Just look at him. This poor soul thinks he looks cool. And if you're not careful, this could be you. Together we can stop the spread of Halloween and flatten the curve. When you see fully grown adults playing dress-up and mirroring unspeakable horrors from beyond the void, remember your training and cure their vapid sense of self-identity by handing them one of our favourably reviewed treatments. Your country must develop herd immunity to seasonal cringe. So, spread the cure far and wide. Just like the cure, this disease does not discriminate by age. Emulating the infected, you will see children running around in bedsheets, knocking on doors, begging for sugary treats, and threatening to damage your well-earned property. Make sure to fill their novelty buckets with the one thing all children secretly want: a well-rounded and relatable education in biblical history. That'll stop the spread. The Nephilim Look Like Clowns and the inevitable booster volumes are currently the only known cure to thinly veiled demon channeling holidays. This is your best defense against this pandemic of spooky proportions. All you have to do is trust the science. Which you know we did, because I'm showing you people wearing lab coats and looking serious. Get your copy on Amazon today, and be prepared for tomorrow. Side effects of reading The Nephilim Look Like Clowns include, but are not limited to, a feeling of existential crisis, a well-rounded knowledge of a Christian contrarian view on human history, a foundational understanding of spiritual warfare, and a healthy aversion to clowns.